How's it, everybody? Welcome to the Rocky Fern. Today we're doing a special Mother's Day episode in the shop. So join along and watch as I produce this cool Purple Heart roller pen. So a coworker of mine asked me to make this pen for his mom. I guess she's a big writer, and I decided to do a Purple Heart with golden hardware roller pen, and it turned out awesome. You can see how I take it from just simple pen blanks down to this awesome gift. Hopefully she likes it as much as I do. It's produced on this 1/3 horsepower jet lathe in my very humble shop, just in my garage. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let's get into it and you can see how I produce it. Alright, so let's get the lathe spun up here. We're spinning about 1280 to 1300. I have a circular bit carbide cutter that I got off of Amazon. I'll put all the links in the description. Because they are rectangular blanks, you know, you start knocking off the corners and trying to get it to a cylindrical shape. And throughout the video you'll see that I speed it up so it's easier to watch. And then anyone who hasn't turned a pen before, you have these metal inserts. And they're great because you pretty much turn the wood right down to those inserts and it gives you the perfect thickness of wood. And they'll come with all the kits that you get for different pens. I'll check right here for if we have any flat edges. It's pretty smooth. There is still a flat edge, but I have to tighten this up right here. Came loose on me. And then I'll also bring in the rest a little bit closer. You want to try to be as close as you can to your piece while you're turning. This Purple Heart's a really hard wood, so it's actually awesome and a joy to turn. So I'll just keep nipping at it, getting closer and closer to those guides to get the final shape. And when you're turning, it's an organic process for the most part. I mean, you kind of lose some of that freedom when you're turning these kits, or these pens rather, because you pretty much can get so many shapes out of a pen. But the wood really does talk to you and tells you kind of what you're looking for, and you work with what you have. So we'll just keep getting it closer and closer. This is a pretty aggressive tool. It does take quite a bit off, so there are quite a few tool marks left. And later on I'll take those out with sanding, and also with another tool that I use to kind of go through with final finesse cuts. Coming up here, you'll see that I've taken my blank to my etching machine and I've lasered in some hearts, and then I took a Dremel and I Dremeled those out. So I have a recess, and then I'm going to use 3 different opals here. I thought they would show up much more distinctly in the final product. They all kind of blend together. In low light, they are definitely 3 different colors, but in kind of the brighter light, it's they all kind of just look really pretty, but one color. So I'll take that opal and I'll put in some liquid, I'm drawing a blank here. I'll put in some thin CA glue, and then I'll pour in the opal and I'll cover it up. And that thin CA is really nice because it gets rid of any air bubbles for the most part. You are going to encounter air bubbles, and I do in this project. And there's ways around it, but you try to get it all seated in there. I let it cure for a whole day. This might actually been after 2 days. And then I'll go through, and this is my my other favorite tool that I like using. And I'll go through and I'll start nipping away the high edges of all the CA that's on there. And this will also let me know if I have any big air pockets or in voids, which I end up having. Like I said, any project that uses this kind of technique is going to end up with voids, and they're easy to fill. So I have one big pocket right there at the top of that pink heart there. And so that's a big no-no, of course. And I'll come through and put in some more thin CA, and it was really hard for me to kind of film this because I kept trying to focus on my hand. love this multi-use tool. I think it's a clay tool, but it's been awesome to have in the shop, especially working with resin and different inlays. Finish it off with some more CA. This is still the thin. And then after I've let it cure for about a day or two, I'll come back, and this is my Easy Wood mini Easy Rougher with a recessed carbide cutter on there. So I'll take a few trims, slow it down, check it out. You want to kind of just ease up to the point where the opal is now flush with the rest of the surface of the pen. And so I'm just taking real fine finesse cuts through here, trying to get just the CA. If I start getting into the wood, then I'll stop and check. This is also my chance to check for any voids that I might have missed, any smaller ones. Any real fine voids will actually get filled in when I glass the whole project, but you know, I'm looking for big ones. So I'll just ease up in here. It's sped up, so it looks like I might be taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach, but it's sped up, I think, like 600%. So I'm going as delicately as I can. I have messed up quite a few projects in this stage. If I get too aggressive, I might get a catch, and that whole thin-walled piece of wood will fly off the brass insert that's inside. So take your time and just finesse your way through. So you can see that when I etched it and then I dremeled it out, it left this nice black outline, which turned out to be a really good accent for this type of pen. And I like this offset recessed cutter. It allows me to take real nice finesse cuts and also take out any tool marks from that circular carbide bit. And you'll see that I go through both sides and kind of even out that surface even more. Sanding's going to finish it off, but this does a really good job at getting me to a more consistent surface. That recess in this tool allows me a little bit more forgiveness. If it was just a 90-degree corner, it could catch quite readily, so I tend not to use that on finishing projects, or finishing cuts rather. You'll see that I keep rubbing my fingers over that, and that's just my way of seeing if there's any voids, anything I'm missing. There's a couple voids in there, but like I said, those are going to be easy to fill in. And we're still turning at about 1300 RPM. If you pay attention, you can see that there's some tool marks in here that I end up taking out with this tool, and that's another reason why I love using this as a finishing tool. So now we're going to move on to sanding. I start off with I think 600 on this project. And basically all I'm looking to do is just smooth it out, get any of the CA that might be on there, any tool marks, scratches. We're far from actually a finished surface, so this is just kind of a rough sand. And then I'll end up etching the word mother into the bottom part of this pen. I kind of wish I would have went with mom. Mother just seems so formal. But my coworker kind of gave me the freedom to do what I wanted. It turned out okay. I'm happy the way it turned out, but I kind of wish I would have centered it and went with just the word mom. I work my way up to I think 600 to 800. Blow it off. I'll bring it back after I've etched it. You'll see me do the reveal right here. This is one of my favorite things to do, is just to take that denatured alcohol, clean off all the dust, but it kind of gives you a glimpse of what the final product's going to look like. That purple heart actually ends up getting more purple. That alcohol doesn't really do it justice right here. In this next clip, you'll see that I've etched in the word mother. I was thinking that the way the pen was oriented is how I was going to put it together. And I think I ended up doing that, where the R is facing toward the nib of the pen, the end of the pen, but we'll see. So when I etch it, I have it's nice that it's hardwood, but I want to kind of sand away the surface a little bit to kind of refine the word, make it easier to see. So that's what I do, put some more denatured alcohol on there. And now this is where I start to glass. So the first 4 layers are going to be very thin CA. And that's just me putting the first coat on. I'll put 3 more after this. Because we've been so humid lately, I do my best to let this cure completely, maybe 24 hours in between each coat. Otherwise it has a tendency to haze. It's a pain in the butt, and you cannot get rid of hazing. So you either have to resand, or it's just a pain. So that's the first coat. Then I'll move on to 3 coats of medium, and this is me putting on the medium. I do my very best to do very thin coats of medium. Again, because it's been so humid, I want this thing to cure completely. Sometimes here I'll have projects that have been finished and out in the open for days, and I'll put them against some plastic, and there's a reaction that goes on and they haze, and it's a pain. The surface gets all roughed up. I hate it. But this project turned out really well with me letting it cure as long as I did. Now we're going to do a rough wet sand. This is 800 that I start with. And the kind of cool part about this whole process is, as I work through the micro mesh system, you start to see the gloss or shine enhance through each stage. So it gets shinier and shinier. You can kind of tell if you look at the 2 little white bars that are reflections of my lighting system. They get shinier and shinier and more defined, and it's kind of an indication of how shiny I was able to get it using the micro mesh system, which I love. For resins and glass, you can't beat it. I love it. I've tried different things, and they all have pretty awesome results, but the micro mesh for me is the foundation for all my finishing projects, so for pens and whatnot. So now that I've brought it all the way up to the end of the micro mesh system, I'll take my Leatherman and I will cut through just the very ends where the CA is, just so it easily comes off of the mandrel. You'll see me break this away freely and cleanly. If I don't do this, then I've had it where it actually breaks away on the pen side, and now the finish is ruined. Take these out. You can see that the inserts are going to pop out pretty easily. It's got a nice shine right now, but I actually am able to get it much kind of a higher polish state, which is super exciting. But so far I'm really excited with how it's turning out. I like it a lot, and I think, you know, my coworker's mom hopefully will enjoy it as much as you guys are. So what I'm showing you here is the one on the left is me taking it off the mandrel, and the one on the right is me taking it to 600 grit sandpaper and really cleaning up that edge, making it a nice flat perpendicular surface, so that when I press the pen, it's nice and clean. This Meguiar's Plastic X is kind of one of the products I use to really get a nice high gloss finish. The angle is horrible, and I apologize for that, but as I'm using this buffing wheel, you can really start to see the thing pop and shine, and that's what the Meguiar's does. Not only the buffing wheel, but in conjunction with the Meguiar's Plastic X, it's an awesome product to use on end resins and glassing projects. So here's the final product. I've got some close-ups for you guys. It turned out really, really well. In this lower lighting, or this rather higher lighting, it's really hard to see the differences in the color, but it turned out great. I'll have some close-ups of the hearts and whatnot, but make sure to please subscribe, give a thumbs up if you liked it, and we'll see you guys on the next adventure.